let's jump right in today. We're doing a deep dive into CorKat Cloud.
CorKat Cloud.
And, if anyone's trying to understand how IT solutions are, well, they're evolving for small and medium businesses. This company seems like the perfect place to start, digging around.
Yeah, for sure.
We've got some information about their sponsorship with the Chartec Academy. We've also got these leadership bios.
Oh, yeah.
And they're fascinating.
They are.
Really interesting stuff. And then, of course, we've got all the details about, the services that they actually offer. So it's like having all these pieces of a puzzle, right?
Yeah.
And we're trying to put them together to kind of see what picture emerges. And I got to say, just glancing at some of these details, I'm pretty intrigued.
Yeah, I can see why. I mean, a company named after the founder's daughters,
That's right.
an executive with a nickname, the Hawaiian Cowboy, and they're operating out of Colorado.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
A team that has over a century, combined experience.
Yeah. 106 years. Yeah.
These are definitely not, your normal corporate talking points.
No, not at all. Not every day you see a company embrace these kinds of, personal touches.
Right.
But before we get lost in the, in the intrigue of the Hawaiian Cowboy and all that, let's back up for a second. Let's start with how CorKat Cloud even landed on our radar.
Okay.
And it all starts with their sponsorship of the Chartec Academy, which, as you know, is, they're very selective about who they partner with.
Yeah.
So what's the significance of CorKat being there? What does it tell us?
I mean, that's a really variable signal because the Chartec Academy, they're not just looking for sponsors. They're looking to build an ecosystem of really trusted partners.
Yeah.
The kind that brings something real to the table.
Mm-hmm.
So CorKat being included there, I think, really suggests that they offer, real value, real expertise. And it seems like they're really focused on MSPs.
So it's less about flashy marketing and more about, real credibility, right?
Good credibility.
Yeah. Okay, that's really helpful context. So let's delve into CorKat itself a little bit. I think they were founded back in 2011, right?
That's right. 2011 by Mark Grundy and Kevin Cox.
Yeah.
And what I find so interesting is that they didn't just, set out to build a data center. They saw a gap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
A need for a hosting platform that was built by, and this is key, for managed service providers.
Okay.
And because they were MSPs themselves, they had that firsthand experience, right?
Yeah.
With all the challenges that market faces.
They're not coming at this as a pure tech play. They're coming at it from a point of deep understanding.
Yeah, exactly. Lived experience.
Yeah. And their website, you go on their website, they talk about changing the game for Main Street America. What do you think they mean by that?
It seems to me like they're really trying to democratize access to really high-level IT.
Mm-hmm.
They want to give small businesses, those same resources, that same expertise that maybe those larger companies take for granted.
Right.
And you know what? That ambition, it really fits perfectly with their focus on MSPs because, a lot of times those MSPs, they are that bridge, right?
Yeah.
Between the really advanced tech solutions and the smaller businesses that need them.
It's like they're leveling the playing field.
Exactly.
Which is something that, we don't always see in tech.
Right.
So we've got this company, right, founded by experienced MSPs focused on really empowering those small businesses and committed to high-quality solutions. But, we can't just ignore those nicknames.
No, we can't. They're too good.
The leadership team, they're too good.
Yeah.
So let's meet the people behind all this. Where do we even begin?
I think we have to start with the president.
Okay.
Mark Grundy, also known as the Hawaiian Cowboy. 30 years of IT experience, and get this, across all kinds of industries. Agriculture, education, healthcare.
Wow. That's quite the resume.
Talk about a well-rounded resume, yeah.
And then, of course, his bio mentions that in his free time, he likes to, hike and hit the beach.
Of course he does.
So we've got, nature enthusiast who also really digs tech.
It's a good combo.
That's an interesting combination.
Yeah.
All right, next up, we've got Kevin Cox, who's the CEO.
AKA the pastor.
Also known as the pastor. And that nickname is not just, for show, I guess.
Not at all.
Kevin's actively involved in his community, as you might expect, as a pastor. He's a father. And then if that weren't enough, he also finds time for, this is where it gets really interesting, horses, dogs, chickens.
That's a lot.
How does he do it all?
I don't know. It's like he's leading multiple lives at the same time.
It's really impressive.
Oh.
And I love the fact that he's the one who actually came up with the company name CorKat, which, as you know, is inspired by his daughters, Cora and Catherine.
Oh,
Such a nice personal touch. Okay, and then rounding out this amazing leadership team, we've got Patrick Santos,
pistol band.
Pistol Pat, who's the general manager. And let's see, he's a Colorado native, brings over 25 years of business experience to the table.
And his passions, they extend beyond just the boardroom, too.
Oh, yeah.
Coaching, fitness, target shooting. I mean, he seems like a true outdoorsman, like the real deal.
Yeah.
And it does make you wonder, what kind of company culture have they built at CorKat? Like, are these personal details that we're seeing in these bios, is it intentional? Like, are they trying to connect with their target audience in a different way?
It's very possible. I mean, they're definitely not presenting themselves as, these faceless tech experts. They're showcasing their personalities, their hobbies, even their values.
Uh-huh.
And I think, that can be a really powerful way to build trust and, kind of make them more relatable, especially for those smaller businesses.
Yeah, the ones who might feel, intimidated by the whole world of IT.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
it's a really smart strategy, especially with their focus on those personalized solutions.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of solutions, I think it's time we dig into, what they actually offer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what does CorKat actually do?
Yeah, let's get into the specifics.
All right, so one of their core services is cloud infrastructure and data center virtualization.
Okay. Now, virtualization, I think, can be a bit of a head scratcher
It can be.
for those who aren't, immersed in IT. So could you maybe break down, what it means in the context of, what CorKat offers? Why does it matter to their clients?
Okay, so think of it this way. Imagine a company has a bunch of physical servers,
Mm-hmm.
each one dedicated to, a specific task. Virtualization is basically taking those physical resources, right, and creating this virtual environment where multiple servers can run on just a single physical machine.
So instead of having like a whole room full of servers, they can kind of condense it all into a much more, I guess, efficient setup.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like building a virtual skyscraper, right?
Uh-huh.
But you're using individual apartments to do it.
Oh, I like that. That's a good analogy.
So it's got tons of benefits. Reduced hardware costs, improved efficiency, increased scalability, you name it. And for CorKat's clients, especially those MSPs, this means they can offer much more flexible and cost-effective solutions to their own customers, which is huge.
That makes a lot of sense. So CorKat's expertise in this area, it actually allows them to help their clients, those MSPs, better serve their own customer base.
Exactly. It's like a ripple effect of
Yeah.
efficiency and better service.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, so CorKat is really focused on this idea of personalized service.
Uh-huh.
And that kind of brings us to another, I think, really important part of their business, which is disaster recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And they put some pretty alarming statistics on their website,
They do.
really, really emphasizing how important it is to be prepared.
Yeah, I mean, they say that 69% of businesses lack confidence in their ability to recover data after, say, a cyber attack.
Right.
And then 76% have already had some kind of cyber attack.
Yeah.
So those numbers, I mean, they paint a pretty stark picture.
Yeah, it's a real wake-up call, I think, for a lot of businesses who maybe think that, data loss or downtime is just a hypothetical threat.
Yeah.
But it's real. It can cripple a business.
Oh, absolutely.
So how does CorKat approach this whole disaster recovery thing? Do they have a one-size-fits-all solution, or is it more nuanced than that?
Well, they get it, right? They
Yeah.
understand that every business has its own vulnerabilities, its own needs.
Mm-hmm.
So they offer, a whole range of solutions from data backup and recovery to full-scale business continuity plans.
Yeah.
Their process is, they really assess the client's specific risks, vulnerabilities,
Oh.
and then they design a strategy to mitigate those risks and make sure there's minimal disruption if something bad does happen.
So it's about being proactive, not reactive.
Exactly. They're not waiting for a disaster to strike.
Yeah.
They're working with their clients to build that resilience.
It's a much more, I guess, strategic approach to IT management.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this proactive approach, I think it really aligns perfectly with, this growing trend of businesses moving their operations to the cloud.
Which brings us to their virtual desktop services.
Oh,
So what exactly are virtual desktops, and how do they fit into CorKat's broader, portfolio of solutions?
okay. Imagine this. You have all your applications, files, data,
Okay.
all stored securely in the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
And you can access that entire work environment from any device, anywhere you have an internet connection.
So it's like having your entire office set up, accessible to you wherever you are.
Yeah, exactly.
That's got to be super appealing for businesses that have, remote workers or are embracing, more flexible working models.
Oh, absolutely. It gives employees, that consistent experience, doesn't matter where they are, what device they're using.
Right.
And it makes IT management, way simpler. So CorKat, they're recognizing this trend, and they've made virtual desktop solutions a key part of what they offer in the cloud.
It's a natural progression, I think, considering, just how much businesses rely on cloud-based solutions and this whole shift towards remote work.
Right.
Now, they also offer cloud backup
Oh,
services,
yeah.
which seems like, well, it seems essential.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the foundation of any solid business continuity plan.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, data is so vital to any organization these days.
Yeah.
And having, secure, reliable backups, it's not even an option anymore.
No?
It's a necessity.
It's like, yeah, you got to have it. Okay, so CorKat offers a range of cloud backup solutions. And again, it seems like it's designed to, meet the needs of each client, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's another example of that tailoring that they do.
So it's not just a generic backup solution. They're really working to understand their clients' data needs,
Uh-huh.
security requirements,
Yep.
all of that.
Recovery objectives? All of it.
Yeah, it's just another layer of that personalized service they seem to really care about.
Yeah. So we've gone through their virtualization,
Mm-hmm.
disaster recovery, the virtual desktops, the cloud backup. I mean, these are all critical in the IT world today.
Mm-hmm.
But what I find so interesting is that they're not just, pushing technology just for the sake of it.
Right.
There's this holistic approach.
Yeah, I see what you mean. They're not just a provider, they're a partner. They
Right.
talk about empowering businesses,
Mm-hmm.
changing the game,
Uh-huh.
providing access to high-level expertise. It's a much more, I guess, nuanced message than just, hey, we offer data center services.
It is.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the real value is.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground here, from their founding story, that
Mhm.
unique leadership team,
Right.
the range of services, this focus on personalized solutions. I think we're starting to paint a clearer picture of what CorKat Cloud is all about,
Mm.
but I have a feeling there's still more to uncover.
Yeah, I think so too.
What do you think?
Yeah, we've seen the building blocks.
Mm-hmm.
But I think now it's time to understand, how they all fit together to make the whole structure.
I like that. All right, well, let's dig a little deeper then.
Okay.
Okay, so we've talked about their services. We talked about how committed they are to this whole idea of personalization. And of course, we can't forget that unique leadership team.
Right.
But what does it all add up to? Like, what's the bigger picture here?
Well, what's really interesting to me is how CorKat seems to bridge this crucial gap. I mean, technology it's just getting more and more complex.
Oh, yeah.
And for smaller businesses, it can be really, really daunting to keep up.
Right. I mean, they might not have those dedicated IT departments, those resources to really navigate it all.
Exactly.
So it sounds like CorKat is like positioning themselves as that bridge,
I
right?
guess too, yeah.
Between those complexities of IT and the needs of those smaller businesses.
Yeah, they're not just selling servers and software. They're offering that expertise, that guidance. They're a partner.
Right.
They're saying, hey, we understand your challenges, and
Yeah.
we're here to help you use technology to your advantage.
It's almost like they're an extension of their client's team in a way,
Yeah.
providing that specialized knowledge and support that they might not have otherwise.
And that's where I think that built by MSPs for MSPs really, really comes through, because they're speaking the same language.
Right.
They've walked in their shoes. They understand the pressures,
Yeah.
the priorities of managing IT
Mm-hmm.
for those smaller businesses.
It's not just empathy, it's like shared experience
I get
that's
that.
informing everything they do.
Yeah.
And I think we see this reflected in how much they emphasize, tailoring those solutions, their approach to disaster recovery, this commitment to building those long-term relationships.
Yeah, and it goes beyond just, good customer service, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's like they become a trusted advisor. They're invested in the success of their clients.
It's a much more holistic way of thinking about IT,
Absolutely.
recognizing that, well, technology is really only valuable if it solves real-world problems.
Right. It's about connecting those dots
Yeah.
between like the technical stuff and the human side of a business.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's what sets them apart. In a market that's often dominated by these large impersonal companies, CorKat is offering something different.
Right.
Something more personalized, more human, and it seems to be working.
Yeah. Especially with those small businesses that they want a partner who gets them.
Yeah. It makes me wonder, do you think this reflects kind of a larger trend in the IT industry as a whole?
Hmm.
Are we moving away from those one-size-fits-all solutions
Yeah.
towards something more tailored, more like consultative?
Well, I think as technology keeps getting more specialized, more
Ah.
interconnected, that demand for that personalized guidance, for that
Yeah.
support, it's only going to grow.
Right?
Businesses, they don't just need vendors anymore. They need partners.
Yeah.
People who can help them navigate all of it.
Yeah.
All these changes.
Right.
And CorKat seems to be, well, they seem to be at the forefront of that whole shift.
It does seem that way.
Combining, that high-level tech expertise with this genuine commitment to building relationships,
Mm-hmm.
understanding those unique challenges that their clients face.
Mm-hmm. So now, given their emphasis on tailoring solutions, I'm curious how their approach might change, depending on the industry that they're serving.
Hmm.
So, for example, like, how would they adapt their services for, say, a healthcare provider
Mm-hmm.
versus, say, a manufacturing company?
Well, those are two very different worlds.
Yeah, totally different needs.
Totally.
Hmm.
I mean, you think about a healthcare provider.
Right.
They're dealing with sensitive patient data.
Right.
They've got those strict regulatory requirements.
Type A and all of that.
Get pay, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And they need their systems up and running all the time,
24/7.
24/7.
Mm-hmm.
So their IT solutions, they have to prioritize security,
Mm-hmm.
compliance,
Reliability.
above everything else.
But then you've got a manufacturing company.
Right.
They're probably more focused on optimizing those production processes,
Right.
keeping their supply chain running smoothly,
Exactly.
and protecting their, industrial control systems from
Yeah.
cyber threats.
Right. Their needs revolve around efficiency, automation, and making sure that critical infrastructure is protected.
So how would they adapt to those very distinct requirements?
Well, for a healthcare provider, I imagine they would focus on putting in place some really, really strong security measures, making sure that everything is, HIPAA compliant,
Mm-hmm.
and coming up with a disaster recovery plan that guarantees, the least amount of disruption to patient care.
Right, because that's critical.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they might even use, virtual desktops to give those healthcare workers, secure access to all that sensitive data, even when they're not in the office.
Right.
Now, for a manufacturing company, it might be more about solutions that, boost their network performance,
Mm-hmm.
help streamline that data flow between different parts of the production process,
Okay.
and really protect against any downtime, because that could stop everything.
Yeah, and have a huge impact on the supply chain.
Exactly. They might also have to put in place, more advanced security to protect against, those attacks on their industrial control systems.
Right. Those are high stakes.
High stakes.
Yeah. It's amazing how those same services, the cloud infrastructure, virtualization, disaster recovery, backup, it can all be tailored and applied in such different ways.
Yeah, it really shows how important it is to get the context.
Yeah.
It's not just about the tech tools themselves. It's about how they're used, how they're set up to solve those real problems and reach those business goals.
And that's where I think CorKat's, personalized approach really, really shines.
Totally.
They're not just selling a product, they're offering a partnership.
Yeah, that deep understanding
Understanding.
and commitment.
A commitment. Yeah, it's really refreshing, honestly,
Yeah.
to see that in a world that's so often dominated by those impersonal transactions.
Yeah, those one-size-fits-all solutions.
Exactly. It's like they're reminding us that technology, it's a tool for human progress,
Right.
and it's most valuable when it's actually empowering people.
Empowering businesses.
Empowering businesses, yeah. So they're leading by example,
Mm-hmm.
showing that success in IT, it's not just about the bits and bytes.
It's about people.
It's about understanding people.
Building those relationships.
And then using technology to make a real difference.
Absolutely. I think they've given us a lot to think about.
Yeah, me too.
Not just about how IT is evolving, but also about about how important it is to approach technology, well, with a human touch.
Yeah, I like that. A human touch. So as we kind of wrap up this exploration of CorKat Cloud,
Mhm.
I'm curious, what are your final thoughts? What do you hope our listeners take away from all of this?
Yeah, it's been really fascinating getting to know CorKat Cloud.
Because
Learning their origin story,
yeah,
digging into their services, seeing how they build those partnerships.
it's been really cool.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen how they're combining, that high-level technical expertise with a really human-centric, philosophy,
Hmm.
tailoring solutions, really meeting those specific needs of each business.
And they're not just keeping up with IT, they're shaping it.
Yeah, they're pushing the boundaries, setting a new standard, I think, for how personalized service can be done in this industry.
And I think they're showing that success in IT, it's not just about, having the latest tech or the biggest infrastructure.
Right.
It's about understanding people,
It's about building trust.
building trust, yeah. And using technology to really empower
Well,
people.
empower businesses.
To hire businesses, yeah.
And that message, it's so important, especially now when technology is, I mean, it's so complex, it can feel really impersonal.
I can, yeah.
CorKat is reminding us that technology should serve people, not the other way around.
Absolutely. They're leading by example. They're
Right.
proving that you can be technologically advanced and still be really human centric.
Right. They're not just talking about changing the game, they're actually doing it,
Yeah, one solution at a time.
one solution at a time.
So as we wrap up our deep dive here, I'm just curious to hear like your final thoughts. What are the key takeaways that you hope our listeners will remember about CorKat Cloud?
Well, I think that the most important thing to remember is that CorKat is redefining what it means to be an IT provider.
Mm.
They're not just, selling services, they're building partnerships.
Mm. Mm.
They're taking the time to understand those unique challenges,
Yeah.
and they're using technology to empower their clients to reach those goals.
Yeah.
And they show that human-centric approach, when
Yeah.
you combine it with that deep technical expertise, well, it can be a real force for good in this industry.
That's a great point. And for our listeners who are intrigued by what they've heard today, I encourage you to learn more about CorKat Cloud.
Yeah.
Go to their website, read the client testimonials, maybe even reach out to them directly and see how their approach could benefit your business.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure joining you for this deep dive.
Likewise.
I hope our listeners found it as insightful as I have.
My pleasure was all mine.
Yeah.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep into this fascinating world of technology and how it shapes our lives.